We must therefore face the issue of African unity now. For only unity will make the artificial boundaries and regional demarcations imposed by colonialism obsolete and superfluous. African unity will thus provide an effective remedy for border disputes and internecine troubles. In a united Africa, there could be no frontier claims between Ethiopia and Somalia, or between Zanzibar and Kenya, Guinea or Liberia, or between Ghana, Togoland, and the Ivory Coast. Because we would regard ourselves as one great continental family of nations. Some of the leaders, it must be confessed, do not see the struggle of their brother Africans as part of their own struggle. Even if they did, they would not be free to express their solidarity. These rifts are consciously created by the imperialists between Africans, where they can sit back and watch with sly satisfaction, as well as contempt for those who fail to see.
What a better way to start off the show. That was Ghana's first president, Kwame Nkrumah, on May 24, 1963, telling other African leaders about the importance of uniting the continent. But ever since, there's hardly been anything established as a true African unity, even in the face of imperialism, colonialism, and now neo-colonialism. African unity is our focus today on The Square. Welcome to VSA. I'm Sulaiman. Well, in May 1963, many African countries, still smarting off their new independence, came together to form an organization for Africa's unity. The African Union came to being in 2002 to drive new goals and as a form of improvement on the AU. Now, almost 2 decades since its establishment, Africa is struggling across many fronts and is still unable to get the desired African unity. The Organization of African Unity was established to change the lives of the African people for good. It was a path to freedom, or so they thought. It didn't take a long time before many African states fought from within and outside. Tribes went against each other over land disputes. Nations went to war over borders. Mineral resources and who owns them became an argument that got settled with bloodshed. From Nigeria to Cameroon to Burkina Faso, Chad, the Central African Republic, Mozambique, Nigeria, and Algeria, Africa's unity is under great threats. This disunity, lack of cooperation, and absence of integration now threatens the continent, what it was and everything it can become. Joining me on the show today, two passionate Africans, Ejike Okpa, who's a Global Affairs Analyst, and pretty much later, David Matsanga, African Affairs Analyst, will be joining me. Ejike, good to see you, and thanks for your time and thanks for your interest in African matters. Now, there looks to be a deviation from the OAU and now AU's reasons for establishment. What would you pinpoint as a cause of this?
Well, thank you for having me on the show. I'm a native African, born and raised in Nigeria, and after, college and NYC, decided to come to America. So I've been in Dallas, since. When I look at the African situation, both from being, spending a quarter of my life there and then coming after that, I see a lot of weaknesses. There are good intentions, but oftentimes there is not a consolidated, focused desire within even each country in order to achieve the level of comfort and stability with themselves so that they can become a model. I mean, when I look at Kwame Nkrumah and what was his intention, Ghana fell apart. He wasn't even able to consolidate Ghana, to make Ghana a model. Instead, he jumped the hoop and he was all over the place wanting to promote Pan-Africanism. You can't talk about the Pan when you haven't secured the plate. He didn't secure Ghana. He didn't, convince the neighboring country to even see him as a viable leader. Instead, he was very flowery. He was very, loose with his vision. And so that's what has happened. So since Ghana became the first West African country, to become independent to the latest one, Southern Sudan or South Sudan, what have we gotten? We still have gotten a bunch of leaders who have never been able to speak to the heart of their country, to say, look, this is the challenge we have. This is what we have to be able to do. Instead, you look at Nigeria and Cameroon. If anything happens in Nigeria, today's President Buhari will want to go to London, to go consult with whomever. And then the guy in Cameroon will go to Paris. Why can't you are neighbors? You give the excuse that, the 1836 Campbell for Africa led to the division of what we have today. Okay. But since then, has any two countries wanted to consolidate? Of course, you saw what happened in Germany, West Germany, East Germany, after the wall came down, they came together. Has any African country done that? Togo and Benin Republic, they're very tiny. They look like fingers, jutting out from the Atlantic Ocean. Have they come together to collapse their boundaries? Has Ghana and what is their name? Cote d'Ivoire to their west done the same. So the Africans have to look at themselves critically and say, we are the joke of the world. 54 African nations have not been able to achieve anything in more than half a century. They are the easiest set of states to be invited to anybody. If Russia sends them an invitation, all 54 of them are going to be fighting their way to go to Moscow. China is doing the same thing. So why can they invite these other people to come to Africa? Why can't they host them?
Sorry, I don't mean to butt in, because you have raised quite a lot on the plate. And for every young African listening to you now will be so pained, because first you started off by highlighting what we saw in that video of Kwame Nkrumah, and you said, well, he couldn't actually speak to the heart of the nation in Ghana, and all the vision he had for the continent didn't actually came to fore before he left. Quoting same Kwame Nkrumah, I recall then he said, we must unite now or perish. So that unity didn't come in his lifetime, did it?
No, but again, did he even unite the Ghanaians? I mean, look at Ghana as a country had more coup than any other country that was independent within the first 20 years of his life. Go look at it. I mean, Jerry Rawlings was, doing this like he's just going to a party. Any day he wake up, he want to overthrow, he will overthrow. Because again, there was an internal weakness. I'm just saying the center has to hold before anything around it can be magnetized. So Ghana wasn't even providing the magnetism in order for other people to say, look at what Kwame Nkrumah has done. Consolidation in power is very critical. Look at America. The first time an American president left America was in 19-something, more than how many 100 years after they became independent. They were even more isolationist until after the war. The world wars dragged America out of their own isolation. So as soon as an African president becomes head of state, what do? They want to run abroad. They want to run to the same people that colonized them. The divorce is final. Make your former spouse jealous. Africans don't know how to do it. Instead, they keep running back door, pleading and taking titles and, being called names, buying houses over there, having money in the countries of the people that they say is oppressing them. It's a joke. So, I applaud Kwame Nkrumah for his vision, but I also want to blame him for not consolidating and speaking to the heart of Ghanaians and say, hey, before we reach out, let us do this ourselves. Let's make the sacrifice. Every nation has to make the sacrifice.
You're talking again, sorry to butt in, you're talking about, just immediately after independence. But again, some watching us now would think that, well, for instance, look at Nigeria, look at Ghana, look at some of these other countries, apart from Somalia that is still young. These countries have a whole lot to have achieved till this moment. As I say, You don't need to create something new. All you need to do is to reinvent the wheels. Now, going back, yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
No, there's a copy and paste. Do you want to copy somebody distant from you, or do you want to copy somebody close to you? So why are you running to, if an African country has become a model of success, then you could copy your neighbor instead of trying to go all over the place. So no African country is the model. Nigeria is not a model. Nigeria is a lousy country. Look at, they are the most populous, black nation in the world. They became amalgamated in 1914, 1918. How many years is that? Do you know electricity came to Nigeria 14 years after America built their first power plant? 125 years or so Nigeria has had electricity. The engineering behind that technology has not changed, and Nigeria still cannot do it. America got electricity 106 years after independence. Nigeria had it 64 years before independence. And today, Nigeria is run by generators. And you still have people who go around claiming professor of this, professor of that. If you're a professor, show me with a solution for your country. So this is the challenge for Africa. They have had the same thing everybody else has had. You just never bog down to their own domestic issues to become a model for their neighbor. Instead, they keep running to
what exactly, Ejike Okpa, what exactly could be the problem? Because these are things that should worry any African. There's no peer review mechanism. There's no laws. Yes, and if you go back to the OAU and some of the key things put together why the OAU was formed have not been met.
Yes, because again, you go and recruit these people who all they have to show is having spent some years in college, piling up on degrees, and then when they become, you put them on this position, they have no self-confidence, they have no balls to even speak up to anybody outside. And so they begin to fall apart easily because they are very intimidated. I can give you tons of examples of African bureaucrats I have met in Dallas, and I've taken them before, critical resources in America, and they could not even speak up. And there are people at home, who anytime you want to talk to them, you want to call them as professor, engineer, blah, blah, blah. But when they get in front of white people, they are weak. They are weak. So the problem, the whole cannot be strong if the parts that make it is weak. OAU cannot function or couldn't function. AU is doing the same thing because no African country is a model. No African country has achieved a measure of stability that becomes something or the world to say, hey, look at how these people are doing it. They have not. So, for instance, go to Nigerian cabinet level. There are more professors and PhD holders as ministers of something in Nigeria, whether real or fake, than most university faculties has. What have they done with it? What have they done with it? Nothing. You had Jonathan, the first native-grown professor, and who came from vice president to, deputy governor to governor, this and that. What did he do? Under him, Gizani, whatever her name is, the lady in London, took as much money as they say she took. Has anybody done anything with that? And you think the world doesn't watch it? And they don't sit in their privacy and start to laugh? You are here saying the Delta region of Nigeria is not doing well, but people from Delta, Jonathan, Dizani, and then Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, they held the critical ministry at the time Jonathan was president. What did they do for their own native land, their own neighborhood? You can't tell me to come to your house when you're, and then I come over there, it's all, messed up. So that's the problem. If the most populous black nation, which is Nigeria, has not become a model, what do you think the tiny so-called giant, giants, Nigeria says they are the giant of Africa. Okay, I'm a Nigerian by birth and I love that. But if they can't get it together, what do you think Somalia is going to do? What do you think Guinea is going to do? Equatorial Guinea. So please, my point is, confidence is critical. Being able to bluff is a critical resource in international relations. Sometimes you have to tell the other person, I'm not going to do it, and watch me do it. But instead, we haven't. Has
there been any African that has a semblance of some of these key, traits you have just highlighted?
Well, I mean, Mandela did it. Mandela, at the time, because of the sympathy extended to him for having been locked up for 27 years. But look at when Mandela left, what did Thabo Mbeki did? What did Zuma did? South Africa is falling apart. So I'm struggling both from my intellectual, involvement and practicality to see what is that country? What is that country? And we know Africa has existed before most other continents. So how come into this 21st century, there's no university in the world an African has not graduated from? And still we cannot address our issues. We still cannot tell, the Lebanese, the Indians, the Chinese, the English that come into Africa and become successful overnight to say, excuse me, back off.
Because some of those things that worries you, as well as some of the Africans, for instance, the Continental Free Trade Zone, that was clearly within the AU, the OAU before it metamorphosed into the AU. And if you look at that, it's clearly to promote unity amongst these African states. But surprisingly, it isn't moving at any pace, let alone, in existence. And at the moment, they are all in South Africa. What should the conversation be? Because these are critical issues that should actually propel the continent, to a better state.
Good point. Trade has to be a natural reaction to need of services. Okay, so why should if my neighbor has what I need, why don't I do a bilateral? Before you do multilateral, do bilateral. So from the bilateral, you can go multilateral. You have to have an example of success in order to say, hey, this is how Nigeria and Cameroon is trading, or this is how Nigeria and the Togo or Benin. Proximity, they say, is love. So why are you so concerned about somebody outside of you when you haven't even shown love to somebody proximate to you? So the trade that Africans are saying, oh, let's do it, man. Look, naturally, as I have read on trade agreements and so many things, is immediacy. The proximity is a critical resource. But because the African leaders are not able to tell their former colonizers back off, they are intimidated into trading with them before they even trade with their neighbor.
Why do you think that is?
It's because of, again, I'm trying to tell you, they're timid. Let's look at Nigeria since the war ended in 1970. Who is that Nigerian leader who has actually pulled the country together? Who is that? Or is it Obasanjo, who was the military head of state and he came back as a civilian? Or is it now Buhari, who is trying to emulate the same system? Do they have the ability to communicate with Nigerians and say, this is where we have to do, I'm going to be the sacrifice. Instead, all they want to do is run around the whole world and, create this pretension as if they are addressing the issue. Regional economic model, anybody who understands the economics has to be like a pebble drop. You have to start with where you are and then you expand it. So that is the problem. Unfortunately, Africa has produced series of leaders who have embarrassed the continent before the world because they too don't have self-confidence. Self-confidence is not something you get a degree in. It's either you have it or you don't have it. Some of these leaders, they are driven by the glory or the glamour of being in office, but they really don't have the content to energize.
At what point do the people come in here? Because now we're talking about because these were actually chosen leaders, some of them. So it takes us to the leadership recruitment process. They choose
by tribalism. Most Africans are tribalists and they are not citizens. Citizens build countries, tribal people don't. And so you look at the Northerners in Nigeria, they have had the fortunate benefit of having produced a prime minister, military head of state, president. The North is a depressing, deplorable section, even though they have had many people serving the government. So because they are tribalistic people, citizens look beyond tribe. They look at the common interest. So in Nigeria now is this rotation or something. Oh, let's go find somebody from this part of Nigeria to be head of state. The people celebrate the symbol of their person being in office, but not the substance. Go to the state of any of these former heads of state and tell me any major industry has ever moved into those areas because of a former president. Name it. Is it Obasanjo area? Is it Jonathan? Is it Buhari? Is it Babangida? Go to Niger State. Go to Mina.
Now I'm happy. I'm excited because you just touched on some issue we had, not quite long on the show, and it has to do with industrialization. And I'm happy that you went to school here before you left. You should also be able to juxtapose what is being done there, because once upon a time, we saw some of our bigger uncles and cousins having holiday jobs back home here in Nigeria because of these industries. And now we woke up someday, there are no more industries. Where you are in the United States, an average high school, kid still does some kind of a holiday job to also assist himself and herself. So how did these
you're talking about
let me just land on this so that you can also just quickly pack it all. How did we wake up someday and these industries all disappeared?
Good question. From 1970 to 1979, when we had the transition to civilian rule, Obasanjo handed over, Nigeria attracted more corporations into a country that has just had less than 10 years of the end of civil war than any other country. Well, what happened? Shagari came in, and Shagari was a reluctant, indolent leader. He didn't know how to, create opportunity to make this industry started growing. I mean, do you know Mercedes-Benz built a plant in Enugu, Anamco, before they built one in America? So many companies, ITT, Nigeria became one country in West Africa that, Ericsson, British Telephone, and the others came in to do all of that. Naira was good currency. Nigerians who went to school abroad were coming home, things were moving. What did the Shagari from 79 to 83 do? He was instead praying while the country was falling apart. He was doing Allah. Come on, you're not the first one. He wasn't a manager, and then he didn't know how to hire managers. So Nigerians started doing things that made those companies to do what? Go. Companies look for places where they become like a fertile ground. From there, the pop and other things begin to happen. So Nigeria didn't create that opportunity. The Nigerians who were there were more interested in the title of their job as opposed to the productivity that comes with their job. Because by now, electricity shouldn't be an issue for Nigeria. Okay? By now, water system. No city in Nigeria has water system. They have water supply. Look at Lagos. 18 or 20 million people that live in an area of 1,400 square miles. It has no sewer system. It has no subway. It has no anything. And it has been there for more than 100 years. And every time you celebrate the governor, you celebrate Lagos, you be doing all of that. And Lagos by now should have been a model for Nigeria because there are more non-Yorubas in Lagos than anywhere in the country. But you cannot have a non-Yoruba become governor of Lagos. The day that happens, I will give Nigeria $1 million. The day Lagos State becomes that non-tribalistic, state where you live there, you can become governor, you can be anything else instead of being the typical Yoruba people who have done it, then I know Nigeria is maturing. Because we are not able to recognize citizenship. Instead, we put attention on tribalism.
Let me bring in Dr. David Matsanga, but I'll be quick to also let you in on that I'll hold you to that the day Lagos has someone, so we'll be asking for $1 million from you. Quickly, let me welcome David Matsanga. David Matsanga, good to see you, and thanks for your time, and thanks for joining us. Ejike has been speaking about the same thing you have always spoken about, because both of you are two great Africans that have always talked about African unity. He thinks that from the 60s down to this very moment, Africa has not had any leader that has the ball to actually bell the cat, to lead the drive for African unity and cause a big development for the continent.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to apologize for my sorry delay because I believe international systems that don't want us to talk about Africa did away with my phone. 10 minutes, 10 minutes towards my program, my entire phone went off. So I know they must have been working on making sure that I don't speak.
I'm glad you're back.
Yes, but I'm back. I had to change SIM cards to another phone, so that your producer can get the number. Whoa. Let me go to the point. Africa has got its own difficulties. We have got self-inflicted wounds. That's one category. The second category is we have external darker forces that work on African unity every time. And whether you go to the moon, come down. My brother is very right there to tell you, if the day Nigeria, Lagos will have electricity and other places, you give you $1 million. Is correct. We have a problem in Africa. The first founding leaders were very good leaders. And then we have a problem of the new crop of leaders who came in. The ones that took over power after the colonial masters left. Those ones tried to work out. He has given you the history. After that, the Haile Selassie's, Sekou Touré, Nkrumah, Obote, Jomo Kenyatta, Nyerere, Patrice Lumumba, all these guys, Benebera, they tried. But they were now, after the colonial people left, they said, oh my God, what have we left behind? They turned to manipulate the army to overthrow people whom they had left in power. You saw the first coup in Ghana in 1965, another coup of yours in Nigeria, where the generals came, overthrew a government. You saw so many coups around Africa. In a nutshell, two problems that face Africa. One, self-inflicted wounds within ourselves. Two, external darker forces. And one of the countries that is still dismembering Africa up to today, a colonial country, is called France. And for me, on this program, I will not be shy. In this village square of Africa, I will not be shy. I want my voice to be heard. That France has contributed very, very negatively in the development of Africa. It has created us more wars. 3/4 of the Franco-speaking countries are at war. Show me one country.
Dr. David Matsanga, but who allowed them? Is it not the Africans or the African leaders?
They have put us on a very bad agreement. Even when Libya was not part of them, didn't they come and kill Muammar Gaddafi? Muammar Gaddafi had given people water from Mediterranean Sea. Today, Libyans are begging water. Are you not ashamed as an African? Today, Libyans are beggars. What did Libya do? We should have, if we did not want Muammar Gaddafi, we should have eliminated him alone, but not to punish Libyans. Look at the way Libya is today. External forces. France engineered Resolution 1970 of the United Nations Security Council and bombed Libya. Today, Libya is no more. The same thing happening to Ethiopia. Last week, you and I were talking about Ethiopia. What is happening in Sahara region, Mali? You see the problem in Mali. Coup upon coup. You see the problem in Chad. They come, they kill Idris. They bring the son and install. You see the problem in this DRC Congo. They kill Kabila, they bring Kabila the son. You look at the problems. It is, some of the problems in Africa are not ours. The problem of Somalia here at the border between, on eastern part of Kenya, where I am now, it was not brought by us. The Americans came in Somalia in 1991 and decided to tell Siad Barre to divide the country into several parts. Military coup occurred, Americans ran like the way they have run away from Taliban, from Afghanistan. They left a problem for us East Africans. Ugandans were dying today, as I speak yesterday. 6 Ugandans and 36 of them are nursing wounds. 6 died because we are in Somalia trying to pacify the problem that America caused in Somalia. The war in Somalia is not us. We did not invite anybody to come to Somalia. They came to Somalia. They left Kenya and Uganda to have Somalia to pacify it. Everywhere. What you tell me, are you not an African? Don't you see where the problems are? Central African Republic. Before I finish and hand over to my brother there.
No, I will take a moment. I'll come back to both of you. Let's go on a break because it's time for that call. When we come back, we'll space it more and as well start to see how we can proffer solutions, and that will be when we return. Join us again. Well, we're still talking about Africa unity here on Villa Square Africa on New Central Television, and so far it's been a fine conversation from two Africans, Dr. David Matsanga and Ejike Okpa, and good to have both of you again here. Quickly, let's continue with you, Ejike, and I'm quite sure you listened to David Matsanga when he spoke. So he's actually taking that conversation to another angle, talking about some interference, external influence. That's another angle that resonates with some Africans, especially those within the continent.
Well, look, there are two sides to a coin. There's always justification and excuse or reasoning for certain things. But let me give you a personal example. I'm a married man. If any man comes into my home and take my wife away from me, I don't blame the man. I blame myself to having created a condition that enabled the man to even think of doing that. If you take that attitude to nation building, that's what you're going to have. The Africans have, defaulted into this thing, somebody else. Look at Kenya. The gentleman is a Kenyan with a Ugandan background. Let's just look at those two countries. Kenya has had, 5 or so presidents. He has never had a coup in his life since independence. How is Kenya doing? Uganda, since 1982, Museveni has been there. He's president for life. So is it not Ugandans that keep electing him? Is it not Kenyans that keep doing whatever they are doing in Kenya? And then we're going to blaming all these other people for doing what? Excuse me, be a man or become a sheep and start looking for a shepherd. The African man has refused to be a man. He's easily intimidated by an outsider. If what you and I are saying, man, if I come to Nigeria with all I know, nobody will pay attention to me. But if I go get a white man who probably has no idea of what Africa is about, or Nigeria, to accompany me at the airport, they'll be rolling out the carpet. And you think they don't exploit that? America is not the problem for Africa. The problem for Africa is Africans. Any minister in Africa, you give them $1 million, they are willing to sell their country to you. And because what are they going to want? Because they are the promise, oh, you know, we fly you out of the country as a problem. We make sure your family goes to school anywhere you want. Why can't you build the same university? Why can you say, no, I'm not going to do it? If you're having a dispute with your family, what I'm saying is have a conversation within. Yield. What is the agitation? As opposed to agreeing to an outsider. The Africans are quick to run to somebody, to seek, especially if they are wider people. Look at China. Has China colonized Africa? Did anybody, has China had any war with Africa? None, but they're coming in offering them these choking loans and choking benefits, and then Africans are signing along the line. Hey, my mom taught me this. If you make yourself a doormat, there are two things that will happen to you. You get stepped on or you get stepped over. Africa has become a doormat. And so anybody can walk in there and do what they want, and the Africans start blaming this. I've lived in America. I ran for mayor city of Dallas. I've been involved, and I have record to show it. You know, the people that we look to that think they have solution, they don't have solution. But everybody creates an image of substance. And they're going to see who they can use their substance, that image, to be able to do what, get things out of. Africans haven't been, Kenya in 1975 was the first African country to get what? IMF bailout. Where is Kenya today? Ghana, less than 5 years it became independent, got $100 million from US Exim Bank to build the Volta project. Where is Ghana today? Do you know, if you look at the Ghana exchange rate, so the dollar, and then you look at the Japanese yen exchange rate, do you know a Ghanaian 1 million, a Ghanaian that has 1 million cedis has almost $400 and something thousand. But a Japanese who has 1 million yen has about $10,000. Are you related to that number? But look at what Japan has done with no mineral. Is anybody going to Ghana to say, hey, let's make the cities the regional currency, stabilize it, let be the one lending us money so that we can grow? No, because the Ghanaians don't even know what they have. They're still running outside.
Let me bring David Matsanga in quickly. David, you've heard Ejike, and I saw that smile on your face. His perspectives are quite, germane and different. And it's to some extent, some of the things he said, you had also alluded to some of them, saying that, look, we allowed these things to happen. Let's speak about, this. Let's speak more of this, because how much of interference are we suffering, the consequences at the moment?
First of all, the brother was talking very nicely until he came somewhere where he got mixed up. And I want to tell him that, yes, some of the things you blame Africans. And I've summarized his essay already, what he's going to say. Two things, external and ourselves, self-inflicted. Nobody tells us to have corruption. Are you not ashamed to be a Nigerian? You arrive in Dubai, and they tell you all passports that side, Nigerians this side. Have you ever gone to Dubai? Do you know that I don't want to go?
I have been everywhere. I have been everywhere.
No, but I'm saying, do you know that I don't want to go to Dubai because of that?
Then fine, stay where you are. Make your passport become something. Do not blame somebody else. Do not blame somebody else for rejecting you.
I am on your side. I'm on your side. I am saying problems were made by ourselves. Why is it Nigerians in Dubai are discriminated? I feel so bad as an African to be in another line, and my brothers and sisters from Nigeria being told by the Dubai immigration that this is your queue. Why? We made problems ourselves. That is true. Some of the problems come from us. Nobody has told us to have corruption. Nobody. We can finish corruption. We can finish corruption. You talked of China. China, why it has developed. 40 years ago, China had one rice scheme in my country. One rice scheme feeding millions and millions. We were sharing the rice from my rice scheme in Uganda with Chinese. Today, Chinese, 40 years past, they are lending us money, which you rightly say is choking us. Loans that are choking us. We shall die when we are still paying those loans. But the problem we have, you cannot blame solely. For example, I want to take a case study. Uganda, for example, in 1971, the British and the Israelis, the Western world, instigated a coup to overthrow Dr. Milton Obote. From 1961, 71, my country has never had any peaceful transition. Every person comes by blood, goes by blood, kills and goes. You know that very well. Idi Amin slaughtered most of us. A few of us left some of us to grow again. Okay? And we came back from Tanzania, including myself, as fighters. We overthrew Idi Amin. We put up a government. We did a sham election in 1980. Museveni goes through the bush, 1981, 82. Museveni came back in 1985. We were overthrown again by our own generals. Museveni also overthrew the generals. From 1985, 86 to date, Uganda has had, you can call them elections, too many of them. But are they elections? What is an election? It's not one day.
It looks like that's the same point Ejike is talking about.
Yes. But now let me differ from him. He has made that point. I agree with you. But 3/4 of the problems come from America and France. Yes, I am not going to leave it. Colonial hangover over us. For example, when he grew up and I grew up, there are certain things we were told never to do. Brother, are your children not doing them? Are your children not wearing pants with their trousers in the knees? When they come to your house, what do? We grew up when we are told this is a correct channel. Influence from the West has created more problems for us. The West has come back to colonize us softly. We were colonized hard way, but now we are being colonized softly because we have allowed corruption to come to kill all the money that we borrow. Before the road is finished, we have eaten all the money and we have gone to bank it abroad, back again to the West.
But again, you just said we have allowed, and the we there is the African. So the African has allowed.
We have allowed because you see what the West does. When Rawlings came to power, he did a very good job. And my brother there will agree. May his soul rest in peace. He killed all. Yes, he killed all the corrupt people. Don't talk. You were talking, I was keeping quiet. Let's listen. He killed all corrupt men in Ghana. He put them on firing squad. The Prime Minister of Singapore, why people in Africa quote Singapore, he locked his own brothers in his jail for corruption. Singapore today is lending us money. Yet Singapore borrowed the example of their economy from my country, Uganda. And that Prime Minister used it in Singapore. Now what the West comes in when you want to shoot criminals, thieves, people who steal money, corruptly steal money and bank it abroad. Africa has got to put a deterrent. When you catch them, is there anybody stealing money in China? Show me one Chinese who steals money and they're still talking to us. He's down 60 feet here. So nobody touches Chinese money. Why? They have put it a deterrent. For us in Kenya, for example, you talked about Kenya. President Uhuru Kenyatta cannot shoot people. The Human Rights Watch, this gentleman is saying it is not our problem. They have become a problem. They come and say, hey, you are killing people.
Let me bring in Ejike to react to some of the things you've raised.
You are killing people. So
okay,
they are colonized. They have colonized us.
All right, David Matsanga, let's allow Ejike some time to react to some of the key things you've raised.
No, no, look, I don't know whether this is a debate or an exchange.
No, it isn't. But I actually wanted you. Now it has gotten
we're
into an
exchanging ideas.
Yeah, we're exchanging ideas.
What I'm saying is that look, America was a colony before it became whatever it is. Okay, but let me give you an example of America. In Nigeria, for instance, when you want to turn on the light, you flip the switch up. Okay. In America, we flip the switch down to turn it on. England drives on the left-hand side of the road. America goes to the right. Americans don't take any title of knighthood or sir or anything because they wanted to take a break from the guys who colonized them. What the Africans have done, they start running after the same. I said this in my opening remarks. We still have not been able to walk away from our ex-spouse. The way to make your ex jealous is to do better. If you keep running back to them, then they're going to think that you are incapable. So whether it's the West or this, we have overlooked the internal thing. Who were the ones killing themselves? When Nigerians do coup, even if it's somebody who whispered to them to do it, are they not Nigerians that take the gun and go kill their own person? We haven't. Look, America has challenges. America went to civil war. They killed themselves in order to have the war, the country they have. The Africans is just very weak, very thin. So you come into Africa, like I said, take $1 million to any African minister and say, I want you to do this. Trust me, they will think hard to do it instead of saying, you can't say this to me, I'm going to turn you in. How many foreigners have African nations jailed for coming in to interfere with them? How many? So we keep saying this thing. Uhuru is the president of Ghana. Kenya is the son of the former one. Okay, he's alleged he owns more than 70% of the land in Kenya, whether true or false. But the point is, has the Kenyan said, "Hey, we want to do diligence on who owns this land," regardless of whether it was anybody telling him to do it? Okay, if Nigeria, for instance, said, oh, this minister took money from our government and is living in London, has the Nigerian government said, Britain or Switzerland that has this money on behalf of this person, if you don't return it, we're going to severe diplomatic relationship with you. In fact, we're kicking out your ambassador right now. Have we done it? Where does Buhari go for treatment? Anytime he has a stomach upset, he jumps in the plane and go to a medical treatment in London. And you think the white people are not looking at it and laughing at him? Come on. When do we stop blaming other people? Like I gave you an example. If any man, I don't care how you are, you take my wife away from me, I will not blame the man. I blame myself for creating a condition that I allowed him to do it. That's how men are. That's how you look at your country. Americans are not the reason for what is happening. America may have come in anybody. Look at the Indians. Look at the damn third world country like India or Lebanon or anybody. They come to Africa. What do? They get successful. We roll out the carpet for them. How many Africans have gone to China, gone to India, Lebanon, and become wealthy? Give me the number. But these people will come into Africa with a plastic bag. All of a sudden, Africans are treating them like they are some, the next best thing is sliced bread. If you don't protect your neighborhood, if you don't protect your home, you become very vulnerable. So I have quit blaming the white man. I have gone to school with them. I live with them. Tell me the white man I cannot stand up to and speak my mind. And if you have to do it myself, what is money? Money, every nation is entitled to create their currency to help them develop. Instead, we have yielded. You remember SAP, Structural Adjustment Program of the 80s that the World Bank came and sold to us? Were they pointing gun to our head? Were they pointing to say, no, we're not doing it. So SAP has sapped Africa. And then Africans just keep doing it. 54 African nations have different currencies. You go look at the exchange rate, there is no system, there's no mathematical sense to the exchange rate. For instance, Ethiopia currency is going to be worth more than the Nigerian dollar. And everybody's over, and they're all running out, begging the world back.
Let's start winding down quickly, gentlemen. Yes. Let's take this to you, David Matsanga. How can this be further, Yes. How can we actually get this working for the continent? How can the continent start genuine development, especially by also first getting real leaders who have balls to activate these changes?
First of all, I want to thank my brother there. I think we are the same age bracket, and he beats me by a few years, if not. So I want to thank him that we are not disagreeing. I told you I started my essay. I market students of political science. I studied political science up to the last iota on planet Earth. So I started by summarizing Africa's problem into two: internal, self-inflicted, and external. So far, my brother has dealt with internal. We African, we have a problem. What he has talked is very correct. Our people are self-inflicted. They cause self-inflicted wounds. If you come with money in Africa, nobody will reject it. If he would take it, then say, keep quiet, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Nobody has rejected it. Him and I, we are exposed internationally. I've lived in Britain for 37 years. At least I know the culture, how people behave. But we don't have leaders on the continent. The last leader who could speak on the continent was Robert Mugabe, who died 2 years ago. That's the last one. Show me one who can speak now. Two, you say African unity, African Union. The whole building of African Union is built by China. And they even they record our voices whenever you go to African Union. Let me tell you some. I no longer go to African Union meeting. I used to go as a special guest of AU to give them advice. But I don't go there until that man from Chad leaves that place.
I think we're actually almost out of time. If we can do this in about 30 seconds. Yes. In
one sentence.
Yes.
I agree with my brother across the bridge there. And we agree Africa still has problems. But some of the problems are self-inflicted and some are external, brought to us by external former colonial masters, putting sanctions. Look at Zimbabwe. What has it done?
All right, okay. Just allow me again. Apologies. Let me bring in Ejike Okpa so that he can actually take his closing statement. Ejike, over to you.
Thank you for this opportunity. This conversation is very enriching, it's very energizing. It goes to the heart of what we as a Black people, whether you are in the Caribbean, in Africa, or in America, is facing. You go to neighborhoods run by African Americans, it's the same challenge. You go to cities that are predominantly run by Black people, it's the same challenge. So we have to have a soul searching. What is it is missing in us? I don't think God made a mistake creating us Black, regardless of the geography of our existence. We just have to do this internal searching thing and have a resolve. Enough is enough. When do you say that? My mom used to say to me, how many times will something happen to you before you wake up? How many times do you have to step on my toes and keep apologizing and you keep doing it and I'm just going to let you do it? I am that kind of guy. If you slap me, guess what I do to you? I'll punch your face, because in physics, it says action and reaction are equal and opposite. So if I slap you back, I'm doing the same thing you did. So I'm going to hit you hard and break your face, because that's a reaction. So what I'm saying is that physical thing, you don't have to use it. But we as Black people, regardless of where we are, look at Haiti, the first Black nation to be independent. Haiti looks like a Jagunle of Lagos or Ariari of Aba. Go over there. It's in the Western Hemisphere. It's the same reason. Oh, France is doing. I mean, you think French people don't go back there and laugh and say, look at you people. We are not holding guns to your head when you do these things. When African heads of state put money in a foreign bank, is anybody holding a gun to their heads to do it? They're the ones sending that money. So thank you for the opportunity. And for my good old doctor, the age is a number. My grandfather used to say to me, the day you saw me is the day our age start to. So we are 1 day old or a few hours old. I'm not older, I'm not younger. Only my mom can tell how old I am. So
Gentlemen, I must ask on live television, would you oblige me we do this again some other time for the continent?
No, it is good. Look, I'm going to be in Nigeria. I'm speaking at a convocation for a university.
Awesome.
And I would love to be here. So send me your WhatsApp information or Dr.
Awesome.
I'll exchange, and then we can talk when I get over there.
Awesome. Many thanks.
I am ready all the time.
You guys have been such a fine company. Many thanks, Ejike, Okpa, and David Matsanga. And we'll stay in touch, and we'll do this for the love of the continent. I'm Sulaiman. Bye-bye.